Hello friends, this is Vidhika from iExamB, and today in this video we are going to continue with our important MCQ series. In this video we will discuss questions from labor laws, 4 important labor laws which are related to payment of wages, minimum wages, payment of gratuity and Provident Fund Act. Your exam is getting nearer. It is on 17th, 18th July. I hope you are preparing well. Do blend your theory, your reading with practice, and you can do that by practicing a lot of questions. You can also reach out to iExamB. All mock tests are free at iexamb.com. Therefore, you can visit iexamb.com, attempt mock tests and see how much you are prepared and where you need to focus in revision. So let's begin with our first question today. Under Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952, the contribution which shall be paid by the employer to the fund shall be dash of the basic wages. So here we are talking about the contribution by the employer, and the correct answer is D, 10%. It is mentioned in section 6 of the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act, in which it is said the contribution which shall be paid by the employer to the fund shall be 10% of their basic wages, dearness allowance and retaining allowance if any. Our next question is provision of Minimum Wages Act are based on the principle of 1. Social justice, social equity, social work or national economy. So on which of these principles is the minimum wages based on? The correct answer is option A. It is based on social justice and social equity. The basic principle behind the idea of minimum wages is to provide social justice and social equity. What is the underlying idea? What is the meaning behind it? It says that he who works is entitled to a fair remuneration, and that remuneration may enable him to live a life consistent with human dignity. So we are talking about social justice and social equity in the Minimum Wages Act. Our third question is, in the case of a monthly rated employee, the 15 days wages shall be calculated by dividing the monthly rate of wages last drawn by him by dash and multiplying the quotient by 15. So in this question we are talking about a monthly rated employee, his 15 days wages, how they are calculated. The answer is option E. Their 15 days wages is divided by 26 and multiplied by 15. This is given in explanation to section 4 of the Payments of Gratuity Act 1972, which says that in the case of monthly rated employee, the 15 days wages shall be calculated by dividing the monthly wage last drawn by him by 26 and multiplying the quotient by 15. Moving on to our fourth question. Under the Payment of Wages Act 1936, the fine should not be imposed on any employee who is below the age of dash years. So in Payment of Wages Act, there is a provision for fine. What is the minimum age below which fine cannot be imposed? The answer is option C, 15. It is present in section 8 subsection 5, where it says that no fine shall be imposed on any employed person who is under the age of 15 years. Question 5th is, for every completed year of service or part thereof in excess of 6 months, the employer shall pay gratuity to an employee at the rate of dash days wages based on the rate of wages last drawn by the employee concerned. So how many days wages will be used to calculate gratuity for every completed year of service or part in excess of 6 months? The correct answer is C, 15. This is mentioned in section 4.2 of the Payment of Gratuity Act, where it says that for every completed year of service or part thereof in excess of 6 months, the employer shall pay gratuity to an employee at a rate of 15 days wages based on the rate of wages last drawn by the employee concerned. Question 6 is, under Minimum Wages Act 1948, the Central Advisory Board shall consist of the following members nominated by the central government. The answer is D, all of the above. Section 8 of the Minimum Wages Act talk about the Central Advisory Board and its composition. It says that The Central Advisory Board shall consist of persons to be nominated by the central government representing employees in the scheduled employments who shall be equal in number. So the number of employers and number of employees shall be equal, and there shall be independent persons who are not exceeding one third of its total number of members. One of such independent persons shall be appointed the chairman of the board by the central government. Question number 7 is the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act 1952 is applicable in case of any factory establishment employing how many employees? The correct answer is option B, 20 or more employees. This is clearly mentioned in section 1 in the very first section of the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provision Act, which says that it applies to every establishment which is a factory or engaged in any industry specified in Schedule 1 and in which there are 20 or more persons employed. Question number 8 is the constitutional validity of Section 3 of the Minimum Wages Act 1948 was challenged in. This was challenged in C. Bijoy Cotton Mills versus State of Ajmer. What happened in this case was the constitutional validity of Section 3 was challenged. So in Section 3 of the Minimum Wages Act, we are fixing the minimum rate of wages. And the idea and the conflict here was that we are fixing the rate of wages, so we are restricting, we are interfering with the freedom of trade or business which is guaranteed under Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. So here Supreme Court held that the restrictions which are imposed upon the freedom of contract, there are certain restrictions imposed upon the freedom of contract by the fixation of the minimum rate of wages, and though they interfere to some extent with the freedom of trade or business which is provided under Article 19(1)(g), they are not unreasonable and are being imposed in the interest of general public with a view of carrying out one of the directive principles of state policy as embodied in Article 43 of the Constitution. Question 9 is if 10 or more persons together are absent from duty without any notice or reasonable cause, employer can make dash days wages as deduction from their wage. The correct answer here is option D. The employer can deduct 8 days wages if 10 or more persons together are absent from duty without any notice or reasonable cause. This is present in provision to Section 9 of the Payment of Wages Act, which talks about deduction for absence from duty. It says that if 10 or more employed persons acting in concert are absent themselves without due notice or reasonable cause, such deduction from any such person may include such amount not exceeding his wages for 8 days as may be by any terms due to the employer in lieu of due notice. Moving on to our last question of this video, we have question 10, which talks about which purpose does not entitle an employee to take advance from Provident Fund. So there are various purposes, there are various provisions under which an employee is allowed to take advance from his deposits in the Provident Fund, and which of the following do you think is not a reason for that advance? So the correct answer here is E. All of the above purposes entitle an employee to take advance from the Provident Fund, whether it is education of daughter after class 10, self-marriage. So we have a list of areas, list of purposes for taking advance from the Provident Fund, and some of them are education of son or daughter after class 10, self-marriage or marriage of son or daughter or brother or sister, purchase of land for construction of house, then purchase of house, renovation of the house for specified medical treatment of self and family member, unemployed for a continuous period of not less than a month, to meet pandemic related financial exigencies like coronavirus, this was added recently. Then we have repayment of housing loan, withdrawal within 1 year before the retirement, withdrawal for investment in Varisht Pension Bima Yojana. So these are the various purposes for which advance can be taken from the Provident Fund. Now you must be preparing a lot for FCI AGM exam. It is coming very near. iExamB is also offering online courses for law, for technical, for accounts, and for general administration. You can use the code CRACKFCI. Contact on the number mentioned on the screen. Do subscribe to iExamB channel in order to stay updated with the latest information related to government exams. Click on the bell icon so that every time a new video is uploaded, you are able to get an alert. Thank you. All the best for your preparation.